Hello, friends. Welcome to the very end of 2025. It was a big year. It was a challenging year. I think it was a clarifying year for many of us. And personally, I'll be happy to go ahead and leave 2025 behind. So we have the new year coming up on Wednesday night and Thursday. And then following that on the weekend, we have the first full moon of the year. It's actually a supermoon. It's in Cancer. It's on January 3rd. But it's like early in the morning here Pacific time. So it's really like the night of the 2nd and the morning of the 3rd. So it's Friday night, and wherever you are in the world. And it's in the gate 39, which is a kind of a big assignment for us. It's known as provocation or recalibration. And so we're going to dive into that. And there's a lot of different alignments that are connected to this. And so we're going to be digging into the particulars of the 39 and its programming partner, which the sun is going to be lighting up during this full moon. So let's go ahead and dive in. So let me just say a couple of things to help orient you in case you're new here. I'm Maggie Ostara. I am a human design expert and a sovereignty mentor, and I have been doing human design transit reports for 5 years, and I've done different things over the course of those years. Now I'm primarily focusing on the moons and the equinoxes and the solstices, and then if there are other big things that come up as well, because the astrology has been so powerful for us this last couple of years that I moved from really following the transits of the sun and the earth, which change every about 5 to 6 days, to really looking more at these bigger events that are happening and what's happening with the outer planets, because there's such a big story that is happening there. But just to let you know that the sun and the earth move through the same gates, more or less, really close to the same day of the year, all year long. So if you want to find out any more about that, you can actually go to, and I'll link down below, you can go to one of my previous year's transit reports, and I'll be talking about the gates, and the dates will be very, very similar. So if you want to dig into more of that, that's a resource that you can tap into for yourself. And if you want to get nerdy like me, you might want to get yourself an ephemeris. This is from Zen Human Design, and it has all of the movements for all of the planets through all of the gates. This is for 25 years, 2026. I just shifted to this one from 2026 to 2050. But you can get this from Zen Human Design, and you can get just a year to see if you like it or not. It's the thing that I use. There are other online sources as well, but I like the ephemeris. So the chart for the New Year's Day is very, very similar to this one for the full moon. The only difference is where the moon is, because the moon changes gates like 2 or 3 times a day. So it's going to be moving, but all of the other planets are very similar to where they are. They make small changes, but very, very similar to where they are. So let's remember, on a full moon, we're going to have the moon on one side of the human design mandala or of an astrology chart, and the sun on the other side, right? And so they're opposite each other, whereas at a new moon, they're together on both in one gate or on the same side in the same degree of the astrological wheel. So in this case, the moon is in the gate 39, and the earth in the human design system is also in the gate 39. Now the sun is in the gate 38. And so the sun moves into the gate 38 every year around New Year's, and the earth moves into the gate 39 every year around New Year's. So these are regular happenings, but the moon isn't always there. So what's different this year is now the moon is here during this transit, and it's particularly lighting up that gate 39. So the gate 39 is in the knowing circuit. It's on the root center. And it's known as provocation in traditional human design and recalibration in quantum human design. And I have this defined in my chart. I have both the 38 and the 39 in my chart, and they're actually in my incarnation cross. So I know them really quite well. And these are big assignments. Okay, the 38, 39 is a big assignment. And I know some people find them to be pretty gnarly gates, like uncomfortable gates, uncomfortable energy, and so on. I think that's true if you're really orienting to its lower expression. I think they can be that way depending on how you're expressing them. And I know it's definitely been a life lesson for me to learn how to inhabit and express these energies in a way that really works for me and that works for other people as well. So let's just unpack the 39 a little bit. So the 39, as I said a moment ago, is in the knowing circuit. The 38 is also in the knowing circuit. So the knowing circuit is highly intuitive. It's individual circuitry. It's here to be different. It's here to bring change. And it doesn't fit in, and it's on the leading edge of the evolution of consciousness. That's really what the knowing circuit is about, bringing in information and insights and downloads directly from superconsciousness, comes in through that gate 61, comes in, splits to the sides of the body, and then comes back up through the central channel. So right down at the root, we've got that 38, 39. So energy's coming in from both sides of the body, and it's going to come into the root, and then it's going to go up through that central channel. And later on in the month, the gate 60, which is where that energy goes, is going to play a major role at the new moon in Capricorn. That's going to be coming up on the 18th. So little teaser coming up there. But right now we're talking about the 38, 39. And so that 39 is known as provocation. Its mate is the gate 55, which is known as abundance in traditional human design, or faith in quantum human design. And the idea here, and the reason it's been renamed recalibration, is that when that 39 is working with its partner, the 55, okay, it's really about how do we need to recalibrate our energy in order to be in alignment with faith and in alignment with the understanding that we will always have what we need when we need to have it, which is the kind of fundamental definition of abundance, right? Is we just always have what we need when we need to have it. Doesn't mean we need to hoard, doesn't mean we need extra. It doesn't mean that. It means that we have what we need when we need to have it. And that is a true expression of abundance. But many of us don't walk around feeling like that's available to us. I know I've worked a lot in my life to expand my experience of realizing that I really do have what I need when I need to have it. And so you can take a look at that for yourself and see, because that 39 is there to help you recalibrate your energy so that you can bring that faith into your system to recognize that you are taken care of, you are watched over. Spirit is here, your higher self is here, the guides and the angels are here, right? There's many different supports available to you, seen and unseen and known and unknown. And yet our culture teaches us that none of that stuff really exists. And so that impacts all of us, even if you do have a spiritual orientation. That sense of scarcity is still like lurking around for most of us, right? So that 39 can, and provocation to say, hey, get out of that scarcity, right? Because when we believe that there's not enough for us, we're not enough, you're not enough, there isn't enough for us, right? That tends to lead us to hoarding. It leads us to scrambling to always get more. And it also can lead to a lot of victim consciousness, right? There's not enough for me. Oh no, life is happening to me. I don't have what I need. So while this 39 is being lit up here, you have the opportunity to take a look for yourself and be like, okay, where am I in relation to abundance? Where am I in relation to sufficiency? That's another way to think of it, rather than abundance, if that always feels like more than enough. Sufficiency, right? We really just need enough. We need what's sufficient. We don't need more and more and more. Right? And if you think about that, if you have more and more food all the time, it just spoils and then you can't use it. So we don't necessarily want more and more. What we want is we want to be sufficient. We want to have what we need when we need to have it. So do a little excavating for yourself around that. Remember, this is a super moon, so it's going to be extra bright. I was hearing from Heather Unsworth, the astrologer, who did a really beautiful reading of what's happening with this full moon, was talking about how the moon's going to be 30% brighter, right? That's a lot. That 30% brighter and like 15% bigger. So just think about how that energy of provocation, right, or recalibration is actually extra big. And I want to point out, okay, this is the historicist in me, which is that Western culture, as we know it, has grown out of the age of empire. Okay, the age of empire, we like to say it started with the Greeks, but it really got going with the Romans. And the age of empire in its colonial expression, right, has led to a lot of scarcity, because what happens is that there's people from one part of the world, they go to another part of the world and they're like, oh, there's a bunch of good stuff there. We're going to take it all and bring it back, right? All roads lead to Rome, right? And then that leaves those people in scarcity, right? They may not have enough to eat. They may not have enough of whatever it is that was taken away from them. So this has happened all over the world ever since the Romans. And it's not like the Romans started it, but they were the biggest and the most solid empire, right? And they were really good at stripping a lot of the world of its wealth and bringing it to Rome. And so that feeling of scarcity and not enoughness, and that we have to take more so that we can be safe, is baked into the age of empire. Right. And whether you are on the colonizing end, people were coming and taking away from you, or whether you were going somewhere and taking it away, right? Like whatever it is, it's this whole sense of, there's not enough and I need to take more so that I'm going to be safe. So we're at this time where we're breaking our ancestral legacies, the parts that don't work for us. Right? The parts that are not so good. I'm of European descent. I mean, the Romans did come and colonize my world, like in what's now the British Isles, the Celts, right? The Romans did come, but I'm of European descent. This is definitely part of my legacy. It's something I've been unpacking and trying to unravel for a long time, is what are the ways that I'm still embedded in an imperial mindset, right? So I think that this is an invitation for us here right at the beginning of this new year to say, let's start out 2026 right. Let us get back in alignment with the recognition that there is enough for everybody on this planet. Resources are not distributed to make you think that that's true, but there actually is enough for everybody here on the planet. Things have to change in order for that to be something that comes real, right? It's part of what the new earth is how do we reimagine our world so that everyone does have what they need, right? And right here, we have the moon saying, hey, what about you? Can you start to make that change, do that work inside of yourself so that you are then an example, right? An example and a model for others to say that we always have what we need when we have it, and we can recalibrate to that spiritual truth. Well, while the moon and the earth are in the 39, we have the sun and Venus and Mars all in the gate 38. So the gate 38 in the traditional human design is known as the fighter. And in quantum human design, it has been renamed the visionary leader. And in human design, we like to sort of affectionately consider this the Martin Luther King gate. I like to call it the stake in the ground gate, right? What are you willing to put a stake in the ground around? What do you know for sure that you feel certain about, that you have confidence in? Like, this is valuable and I'm willing to stand up and be a voice for this or be an advocate for this, right? It's nonviolent, right? Remember Martin Luther King, nonviolence, but it's powerful, right? It's powerful. When I was talking about the age of empire, right? Based on being fighters, based on being warriors, and not just warriors, but colonial warriors, right? Because there have always been like warrior groups, warrior nations, warrior tribes that weren't colonial. They didn't go and try and steal other people's land or other people's resources. They just, had skirmishes and so on, right? But when we're talking about unpacking and unraveling the age of empire, part of it is to look for ourselves at what is our relationship to this kind of warrior energy. Like I said, this is my unconscious sun. So this is something I've been working with for my whole life and really consciously for the last few years to be like, what is my relationship to that kind of warrior energy, of which personally I have a lot. So my sun and my south node and Eris are all in Aries, and they're all conjunct, right? So warrior many lifetimes was my soul journey. Right. And in this lifetime, I've been really looking at that warrior energy, have certainly employed it in different ways and have felt good about it in different ways of putting that stake in the ground. But I've really, as we are moving out of this age of empires, we're moving out of the Kali Yuga, as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, it's incumbent upon us to look at that warrior energy and say, okay, how can we make it really useful for us as we're going into an age where we do not want to replicate conflict energy? We don't want to replicate the ways that people fight with, get in wars with each other, right? We don't want to do that. And yet, there is something about being like more of a spiritual warrior. And in human design, we like to think of Mars as a spiritual warrior. The 38, absolutely spiritual warrior. And here we have Mars in there, spiritual warrior, but we've also got Venus and we've also got the Sun. So those three are conjunct. They're going to be conjunct for a period of time. And Mars and Venus are doing their dance together. They are traveling a lot together. They're going to continue. They're going to start a new cycle in January. And so it's a really potent time here where we're really looking at, okay, our divine masculine, our divine feminine, and our core light signature are all in this gate of the warrior or visionary leader. And so the invitation for you is, what is your relationship to your divine feminine, your divine masculine energy? How is it aligned with your core light signature? Is it aligned? Are they aligned or not? How can they come into more alignment? How can they come more into harmony? And as we think about these divine feminine, divine masculine, not having to do with gender or human bodies or anything like that, but these powerful energies, right, that are receptive and fecund and active and creative, right? They're constantly moving in and out of each other. And in the age of empire, there was way too much glorification of the masculine. And I wouldn't even call it the divine masculine. I would call it distorted masculine, right? This idea that we use this for power and we use our, bigger, stronger bodies, right, as the god of war and, that whole thing, right? Well, we're evolving out of that. And this is a beautiful opportunity when these three heavenly bodies are in the gate 38 for us to make a choice that we're going to inhabit that warrior energy differently. Now, I will say that I think we are still in an age where we need that spiritual warrior energy, not to completely step away from it, but to recognize that that spiritual warrior energy isn't about the fight that we see going on in the human world. The way that there's so many narratives and so many forces that are trying to get us to be afraid, to fight with each other, to see each other as the enemy, to see other people as evil, to be trying to get us to, with each other, right? And of course, everybody thinks they're right. I mean, I have my opinions about what I think is okay or not okay, and I do stand behind them. And at the same time, I withdraw from conflict energy, right? It's a matter of frequency or a matter of vibration. Because when we are able to step out of that energy of fear, right, which then creates the energy of conflict and resentment, right, anger, outrage, all of that. And we're being asked to come into divine neutrality, right? Into this 0 point of calm that is really our point of power. Because when our emotions are getting manipulated a lot, right? Even if that's like, oh, good, our side won, yay, right? And there's this jolt that you get, right? You get your neurotransmitters and your hormones going and it feels really good, right? Even that is manipulative. It's like we are being manipulated by what's going on inside of us and by the forces that are encouraging us to do that. So how do we come into a different state of being? Well, let's remember at the winter solstice or the solstice in December, the sun was in the gate of self-love and the earth was in the gate of compassion and love of humanity. And that was seeding our whole new cycle if we're looking at it through that lens, right? Not through the Gregorian and Julian calendar, right? But more through the cycles of the actual planets, right? Which is what the solstice is, right? Is that begins our new cycle, and we begin it with a vessel of love, and we begin it with self-love and with compassion. So the invitation here is, as we're stepping into a higher expression of that spiritual warrior, that visionary leader who is willing to put a stake in the ground, right? Who is willing to stand up and be an advocate for what you believe in, right? Being able to do that, but to do it with compassion and to do it from an inner state of self-love, not from beating up on yourself, which then makes you want to beat up on other people, or from beating up on humanity, right? But actually in a state of compassion, to realize that we are at the turning of the age, and part of that is our ability to come together as a humanity and our ability to see each other as reflections of each other, as much as some of it really doesn't look good to us and we don't like it, and we don't want to be an advocate for that or support for that, but we also don't want to fall into conflict energy. So I really encourage you. This is such a rich juxtaposition, the 38-39 always is, because if we think about that, the age of empire really set in a deep sense of scarcity inside of Western culture. It did. And then we also have, here's the light, right? The light of the visionary leader, the light of the future, the light of the possibility. And this is all here in the knowing circuit, where we're receiving downloads from superconsciousness about what's possible. And so we want to be able to move beyond what we have thought was, well, that's just the way things are. I mean, we're in an age where that's just the way things are is really shredding, right? It's coming apart. So it's a good time for us to be able to take more command of that, right? Rather than feeling like it's coming at us, that we can actually have agency in there. And that's where our Mars is, right? Our Mars is our agency. I want to show you what this looks like in the human design mandala. You can see they're on either sides of the mandala. Here up at the top of the image is the gate 38, right? And all the planets that are there. And they're down there at the bottom is where the moon and the earth are in the 39. So they're opposite each other. In the gene keys, those are considered programming partners, and they are considered that they activate and help each other to kind of express themselves, and that they're intimately connected to each other. In astrology, you would consider that an opposition, right? It's all the way directly across, and it's an opposition, which a lot of times is considered a kind of difficult relationship. But I like to think of it as a creative tension that is really asking us to kind of work those two energies and see how the two of them can inspire us to move even into a higher state of consciousness. Then I wanted to show you this image of what they look like in the sky, and you can see that they're lining up here on January 3rd. We've got Venus and Mars on the other side of the sun from the Earth, and then above the sun here is the Earth, and then all the way out is Jupiter. We're going to talk about Jupiter in just a second. So this is on the 3rd, and then this image is from the 7th, which you can see they've all lined up. Right? So you've got Mars down at the bottom, Venus, the Sun, the Earth, and Jupiter, and they're all lined up. And I want to thank Stefan Burns for having shown an image like this. I went and got the software that he has, because I think it's really cool to be able to actually see, well, what does this look like in terms of the accuracy of how far apart they are, and what it really looks like. So there is a story here with Jupiter. So Jupiter has moved into alignment, right, where we just saw that. A little bit of alignment, out of alignment on the 3rd, but by the 7th, they're all lined up. And Jupiter on the 6th is going to move from the gate 62, which is the gate of preparation or details. And so Jupiter has been in there saying, are you prepared? Have you paid attention to all of the details, right? It's been there for a while. Now it's about to move into the gate 53 on the 6th, which is the gate of starting things. And it's going to be there for 5 months. So it's going to be there for a while. And I love this, right? Because here we've got Jupiter, like the beneficent god of the solar system, really. Like it's almost like a second sun, right? It's like huge. I mean, Jupiter's huge. And so here Jupiter is saying, starting things, the energy for starting things. Now, the caveat with the 53 is about right timing, because it's also in the root center, and the root center is always about right timing. We always are tuning in. Is it at the right time for this? Because we have to remember the root is all the way down at the bottom, right? It's not near the throat, which is where we really initiate and activate and express from, right? The root's all the way down there. So the things that happen down there have to happen at the right time, because they need to catch the wave that's going to be able to move that energy along. So here we are moving in at the beginning of the year. Jupiter is moving into the gate of starting things. And so the question is what are we starting, right? What are we starting here? What are you starting? What is the collective starting? And is it the right time? Or is it a time for us to be tuning in to the ideas and the projects and the possibilities that are coming forward, that are going to be started, that want to be started, but it might not quite be the right time yet? We're not sure, right? This is why you always want to be tuning into your human design authority, because your authority will really help you. Is it the right time or not? Because even the best idea, even the best possibility at the wrong time, it falls flat, or you have to work really hard to make it happen. Whereas when you do it with the right time, you have all the cosmic energy behind you to bring something forward. So I love that we have Jupiter here for these first, months of the season, right? All the way through the middle of May, right? So we're going to have that energy for starting things. And then just to say, in February, we do have that alignment of Saturn and Neptune in the gate 25 and right at the 0 degree of Aries, which is starting a whole new era as well. So we're getting message after message after message about starting new things. So a great time for you to be really tuning into that and feeling into, well, what is it that I really want to start? What is it that is brewing, that is just for me to be able to bring forth into my life and out into the world? And to allow yourself to have the time to muse about it, to write about it, to meditate about it, to take walks in nature, to talk to trusted friends, right? Not to feel like you have to rush into starting something just because you can feel some of that energy going, but knowing it's coming, but also being patient for right timing. Let's remember that Jupiter is in Cancer, and so that 53 is in Cancer. And this is a sign of healing, right? It's a sign of caring. It's a sign of taking care of each other, right? Of family connection, and just and any, not necessarily blood family, but a family sense of feeling, right? And so as we're starting things, we're starting it in this beautiful energy of Cancer, which is about how are we starting to care for each other more? How are we starting to care for ourselves more? How are we moving into new stages of healing that are going to help us to really navigate the changes that are in our world? And there's more and more changes going to be coming. So how do we navigate that, right? And just being able to go inside and really feel into that and see what's true for you. So I invite you to light a fire or light a candle this Friday night, Saturday morning for this full moon. If it's clear out, by all means, go and moonbathe, right? It's going to be huge, big, and really, really bright. So go and actually allow yourself to be activated and inspired and uplifted by the energy of the sun bouncing off of the moon, right? So it's very dynamic. Like we like to say it's a moon, and it is a moon, right? But it's so bright because the sun is shining on it. So that energy of that gate 38 is shining on that moon and activating that 39. And the question is what are the downloads? What are the new possibilities, the new insights that are going to come through that knowing circuit that are going to help you to understand what your role is in terms of being a visionary leader, and in terms of helping us to recalibrate to this deeper sense that we have what we need when we need to have it. And then we've got the sun and Venus and Mars are all in this beautiful dance, which I really feel is helping us to be more whole, right? Whatever the divine masculine and feminine represent for you, we have felt like they've been out of balance, that they've been at war with each other, they've been manipulating each other, like all of that. How do we become more whole? How do we bring all of the divine masculine and all of the divine feminine? And how do we embrace all of it? How do we become a space where all of that can come in and it can shake loose all of the different ways that we have been divided against ourselves? We've been at war against ourselves. And instead we can move into that self-love and into that compassion so that we welcome all of us, right? So that we become more complete, that we become more whole. Because when we're rejecting parts of us, right, we're always divided, and we're never as strong or as healthy or as happy or satisfied when we're divided against ourselves, whether that's individually or collectively. So I feel that 2026 is going to be a real year of reckoning. 2025 was also a year of reckoning, but it's just going to get more extreme. There's going to be more disclosure. There's going to be a lot more that comes out that has been hidden. This is individually and collectively. There's going to be a lot of things that change. And so one thing I know for sure is the more that we can get connected to what's going on inside of us, the more that we can align with what the planets are really pointing us to and guiding us to pay attention to, the easier it's going to be for us to navigate these incredible winds of change. And if you want to go deeper with these themes, I am holding a half-day event on January 17th. It's a Saturday, and it's called Ambassador of the Future. And this is going to be an exploration for those of us who really want to orient to the new earth that is evolving right now, that want to be putting your attention in that direction rather than getting mired in all of the human mishigas that's going on, all of the human chaos, but instead orienting to how is it that we're going to be bringing through the insights and the intuitions that we already can feel are alive in us, but maybe we haven't known what to do with them, or we don't believe them, or they feel scary, or whatever it is, right? But how do we actually start to make more space inside of ourselves so that we can be receiving the guidance that we need, and then we can bring that out into our lives in whatever way is appropriate for us, and of course with right timing, so that we are planting those seeds and cultivating the soil of this new earth that we so much long for. I'll be sharing a bit more about feminine sovereignty, my book and the 8 pillars of feminine sovereignty, regenerating ourselves and our world. So I'll be sharing more about the 8 pillars and how we'll be bringing the 8 pillars more alive in 2026, how we'll be working with them, how human design really supports them, how the nervous system healing work I've been doing really works in the 8 pillars, and so on. I'm going to put the link to join the waitlist down in the description and at the end of the video. So I encourage you to come and just, let me know if you're interested in finding out more about it. And I'll send you a link when their registration page is actually open, which will be after the first of the year. If this kind of exploration and this kind of spiritual intention and an advocate putting that stake in the ground, if this speaks to you, then please do come. And I would love to meet you and work with you on those projects. All right. Many, many blessings and much love. Bye for now.